Yo, what's up, Lando? Demo video for you that will remain unlisted until you do your thing with it, right? This is your Darth Maul by CCSabers. Um, this thing's kind of a beast, man. Got it done today, but I've been working on it for the past few days. And, let's go over it. It's got two different chassis. They're completely separate. Both installed with Proffie V2s. For the sake of this demo, I went ahead and I took your blade plugs out. These are your blade plugs. They go in here pretty simple. Slap in there. I'm going to leave these out for now so we can throw some blades in. To get to each of your chassis, what you want to do is just unscrew the emitter section. The emitter comes with it's got an O-ring on it, a rubber O-ring to keep it locked down. You'll see that when you untwist it, kind of hanging there. So just make sure you don't lose that because that does keep that nice and tight. And then you'll see that chassis poking out there. Now, if you can reach in here with your fingers and get it, but sometimes it can be kind of difficult because the chassis is pretty tight in there. It's not very tight, but it's just a low tolerance. Usually take like a pair of tweezers or something, and I'll come in and I'll just kind of pop that up a little bit so that I can grab the rest with my fingers, and it comes right out. We'll take both of them out before we go over them, but we do the same thing over here. Now, of course, this Saber is identical on both sides, so either chassis works in either side. You don't have to keep track of what side is what, and then you'll see that as well. And then let me see if I can get this with my finger. No, I can't. I've been able to sometimes, but it is just easier to come over here and just kind of pop it up a little bit. Just like that. And then pull it right out. With a battery in them, you can just kind of take the Saber in your hand, and I'll show you, and go like that, and then you can grab it because the battery gives the chassis a little bit of heft. There's hardly any weight to them right now, but they both look like this. So here's your chassis. This says Solo Sabers over here in Sith text for me. They do take 24mm Smuggler's Outpost speakers. The speakers are not perfectly centered. They're off kilter a little bit to get out of the way of the two channels that I needed. Removable battery, spring side, right? You do have a lot of wires running through here, both for your speaker, two wires I have coming off the positive terminal, and then also one of your switches back here. The wires come into this channel, but there's a wire channel right here like I like to do, and they all run pretty neat inside that channel so they don't get in the way of the battery. And then here's your Proffie board. On both of these, they are just a snap fit down into the chassis, so you will need to pop these up, just mess with your config, and then snap it back down into place. Both of these have the stock, just the stock configuration, and so that you can mess with these when you get them. And then you've got CCSabers on both of them. And then on the side here, you can see one side, you've got your two switches. I use super small tactile switches and then hid the wires on those. And then the other channel, there was a place for LEDs, but those LEDs were left out per your request on both of these guys. Okay, and just to show you, and you have Smuggler's Outpost emblems right here. But just to show you, I mean, these are identical in every way. So we'll throw a battery in one of them. So we got the battery in this one, and we'll just come over here. You want to line up this channel that's got your switches with your switches. so your switches are these two red buttons, right? The top one's going to be your activation, and your bottom one's going to be your auxiliary. So you just want to make sure when you're sliding this in, you slide this channel in that's got your actual switches on it, and it will go right in. You push it down as far as it will go until it's barely sticking out, just like that. So we want to come over here and hit activation. LEDs. Back here is your auxiliary. We'll turn it off. These buttons are super like you got to press them. There's no play in the buttons. So to get those aligned with the switches, right up against the switches, but not being activated when you're sliding the chassis in, but to have it just so close so that you can play off that switch action, which isn't a lot. That was very difficult to do. So we got that one locked in. We'll come over here and we'll put a battery in this guy. And we'll do the same thing, right? We want to line up the switch channel with our switches right here. And again, this guy, they'll slide right in and they stop themselves, right? So they'll stop where they need to be stopped. And then this goes over it. And we'll lock that down. So I come over here and hit activation on this side. See your LEDs firing up. Your auxiliary, we'll turn that off. Hit activation over here. Your lights are flashing like they should. Auxiliary's working. And we'll turn it back off. Let's throw some blades in this guy. I've got one short test blade, and then I've got a longer one, but it's enough to show you that everything's working like it should. As much as I'd like to put this blade in here, it doesn't look like it's going to fit. You're going to have to do some sanding on your blades. Yeah, this one's not going to fit. So what we're going to end up having to do is I'm going to have to test this side. I'll show you on camera. We'll test this side. We'll go through it, and then we'll just take the blade out and swap it to the other side so you can see that it works. But you know, hitting activation over here. Auxiliary. Good flash on clash. And we'll turn it off. And we'll come over here, and without unscrewing the emitter, we'll pop this out, flip this Saber over, and put this on the other side here. You have a pretty deep blade socket. You know, it's probably like 3.5 inches almost, so it's super deep. Tapping that auxiliary. Now this doesn't have any motion controls on it or anything, it's a basic config. Just like that, and we'll take the blade out. Sound venting is a little, it could probably be better. Like, it's coming through these two lines right here that my fingers are on. You're not going to see it on camera, but when you get that up close, there are a lot of small perforated holes in those two grooves, and that's your sound venting. So the two 24 millimeters sit about right here, and they're venting out of those holes right there. So we'll go ahead and we'll take the chassis out. With the battery in, you can just take this in your hand like this, hit it one time, it pops right out, and then you can take it out like that. We'll take this battery out from the positive side, and we'll go over this other side real quick. Excuse me. This activation button over here on one side, and this is something you'll notice when you get it, it's actually the side with the Covertech. It takes a little bit of oomph to get it to turn on, and then it'll turn on fine, and then a little bit more to turn it off. I did not mess with adjusting this button at all, and that's something that you can do if you find that that makes it easier for you. I'm not very familiar with the Saber because I haven't done it, so I didn't want to go you know, doing that kind of stuff, but you can. But for me it works if I just come over here and just tap it, you know, just put a little bit of oomph in it when you tap it, and then again when you turn it off, it's fine. So we'll put this back on. Go over taking your, we'll take the chassis out of the other side. It's a really cool Saber. I've always wanted a Darth Maul staff. I've got to do 289 Sabers Mauls, and they're really cool, but this one feels really nice. This one feels nicer than that one did. Oh yeah, it's got the battery in it, so we can just come over here, pop it once or twice with our hand. it comes out enough for you just to pull straight out just like that, and then pop the battery out of the positive side like that. So yeah, I'll put these back into the Saber for safekeeping, and that's pretty much your Saber. Let me know if you got any questions. If not, you know, I gotta go and get a mailing tube for this because it's a pretty long Saber, but I should be able to get this out in the mail to you tomorrow. All right, thanks, man.